Welcome to Winning Inside, the show where we follow the journey from feeling defeated to winning. Here are your hosts, Cheddy Matthews and Michelle Wickman.
Hello, amazing people. Welcome to the Winning Inside podcast, where we discuss real issues, insights, and solutions to help you thrive in your day-to-day lives. We know life happens, and we can choose to be a spectator or a participant.
These conversations and stories are about the participants, the ones who made the choice to do the inner work and found a way to keep moving forward. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Cheddy.
How are you?
I'm good.
Beautiful week. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
It's been a great week. Celebrations, graduations, promotions, all the things that go along with this season.
Yes.
And so a lot of excitement and looking forward in life. And so sharing in a lot of that excitement with the kids that we've been following along their journeys, from babies.
We have the same stories. It's awesome. I got to see my goddaughter get promoted in the Marine Corps, which was beautiful. I mean, it's just good to see this. It's so one of my other little babies graduate from one school to another, the transition. So just watching that growth is just beautiful to see. It really
is. And it's such a reminder of, it's so funny because we look at them and we're just like, oh, you're so young. And it's just, entire future ahead of you. And all the times that we tried to give them all of this sage guidance and wisdom, and they're just like, whatever.
I know better.
But then they made it, right? They made it. And that's part of their journey. And the beauty of it too, is it really just reconnects people. These moments of celebration, we get to connect with people that we might not have seen in a little while, or face to face, really seen face to face in a little while, right?
Yes, because nowadays there's so little face to face interaction. I mean, it's like pre-pandemic, everyone was seeing everybody, no big deal. Then we had a lag of about 2 years where we just really weren't interacting or connecting on an interpersonal level, and it's time to get out of that. And I know people tell you things will never be the way they were. I'm not saying they should be the way they were, but we're humans. We are social beings and we need people. And it's good to be around people sometimes. Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert or an ambivert and don't know which one you are, doesn't matter. We need people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a fundamental human need to feel connection, to feel a belonging. I mean, we talked about this before, where it's like you can be a loner, you can be self-identified as a loner, and yet there is still some sort of basic need within you that desires to be connected. And so today we just want to talk about connection and what that looks like in today's day and age.
Yes, exactly. And, we want to also discuss, why is it important? I mean, we all know people connect for different reasons, and there's so many things you get out of it. But let's talk about that a little bit, because some people may say, well, why do I need to connect? I'm good. I'm a island all to myself. And that sounds great and all, but I'm going to say it again. We need each other. We need people. And my life is richer because of the connections I have. And if you haven't experienced that, or if you have experienced that, celebrate it. If you've lost some of that, let's refine it, redefine what connection means to you. And let's find more connections, expand your networking, expand your sphere. So dare to step out. Let's get outside of the house, meet some people.
Absolutely. There's so many opportunities and groups that we can find online and in person, right? Yes. And there's so many resources for that. There's Meetup, there's Facebook, there's different avenues to identify and locate people who are like-minded, or maybe you just find interesting. So we encourage you to do that. But at the same time, it's so easy to just do that virtual connection, or even just to write a message on a Facebook page or something like that. This is so much deeper than that, right? So it's about finding a community. It's about creating community around you the way that serves you best, the way that elevates you and uplifts you. So how this entire conversation started was around networking. So Cheddy and I, we met networking, actually. So we met virtual networking, in fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it was that moment where we just get online. There's a whole bunch of people in the same room. And, Cheddy had this great big smile, which hopefully you guys will see soon. And I had, the same kind of energy. We were both super pumped to just be in this virtual networking group. And we found each other. And yet we're the only two people that probably came out of that networking group and still are connected. I mean, this was months ago.
Yes.
Months and months ago. And we just knew right off the bat, we're like, I like your energy. You like my energy. Let's hang out. Let's talk. Yeah. Let's keep working together. And so now we're collaborating on a podcast. And so, yes, we talk about connection in terms of, your church is a beautiful place to find connection. Even the library. I actually we have a little book nook where they sell used library books. And I go in there and I just talk to the ladies that are, they're retirees and they're just volunteers with Friends of the Library. And I love them so much. Yes. And one of them I call the bouncer, because anytime they have a book sale, she has to make sure there's a specific number of people in the area. And she's all tough and kicks people out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this woman. So it's those things where you just find the people that elevate your energy. They elevate your mood.
Yes.
And they just help keep you not just buoyed in that moment, but really afterwards. I feel more elevated. I feel lighter when I connect with the people that I resonate with.
Yes.
So how do we find more people that you resonate with?
Finding people you resonate with. Good question. Well, the first step is you got to get out there. You got to get down. When I say get out there, that's either virtually clicking on the sites to find them. And there are many sites out there to help you find organizations or events or things that are going on. Organized events is what I was trying to say. And those things exist, but also finding things in person to do. There maybe you like painting and you find an event for painters and you go to that event and you meet people. You meet people that like the same things you like. Maybe it's a special thing that you're celebrating and you want to go and hang out with people who are celebrating the same thing. Maybe you go to a place where I don't know anybody. I'm just going to go out there and come out with a friend, meet somebody. And you go somewhere and I'm going to meet one person, because there may be somebody else there who's saying, I'm going to go and I'm going to meet one person. And you just never know how you might make a connection that way. And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but you're breaking outside of your comfort zone and you're doing things that are new, which only creates new neural pathways, keeps you young, keeps you vibrant. And just doing new things is just a brave space to be in. And if you're in a brave space, a daring space, you're going to find rewards in that kind of a space. If you're digging for treasure, you're probably going to find something shiny at some point. And heck, I'm an example of that, because that's how I met Michelle. That is how we had that is the genesis of this podcast, was a virtual networking event. And I was like, we're going to work together. I think we said that at some point. We're going to work together. We said that early on, because the energy, the caring, the level of similarities and the magnitude of the differences between us, I thought was awesome, because I think we are complementary and supplementary as well. So we're not the same two people saying the same thing, because believe me, Michelle and I are so different, but our passions are so similar. We make each other laugh sometimes, because I'm like, she must look at me like I'm a weirdo. And sometimes I'm like, where did that come from, Michelle? So I think we do that, but it's awesome because we fill in the gaps for one. And I think you'd agree, we fill in the gaps for one another and we make each other better because of our interaction with each other.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not the kind of synergy where you're just like, oh, everything's so easy and everything just flows. It's like, nope. We actually challenge each other quite a bit. And that's fantastic, right? So yes. You don't necessarily need to have things be so easy. We love the challenge. Cheddy and I probably go a little bit hard for challenges too. We're like, oh man, well, I'm just going to challenge myself as much as I can. And then we burn out. We do the same thing in that respect. But at the same time, we challenge each other in little ways. And
yes.
Sometimes, and we've talked about mental health quite a bit in the last couple episodes, but I'm down or I'm in a depressed state and Cheddy's just right there along with me and he helps me and he understands that process.
Yeah.
And similarly, or conversely, when Cheddy's in a down state, we the way that I phrase it is we drag each other along.
Let's
You're
go, get up.
with me. Yeah. And we just drag each other along through those times. And so that we can get to this time, this space where we're talking to you and we are energized with the conversation with one another.
Exactly.
With that being said, I do want to come back to something you said. You mentioned find a place, find an event, whether it's online or hopefully in person, because that in-person interaction within your comfort zone, of course, that in-person interaction is so key. There is actually energy that is exchanged between individuals. And when you're within distance of one another, when you're within touching distance of one another, that is a different level of energy exchange that occurs, right?
Correct.
So don't overthink it, is what I wanted to say. Don't try to find the perfect event, because you can talk yourself out of every single event. Well, this looks like it might be a good event, but what if nobody shows up? Oh, and then I'll be alone by myself with like one other person there. Well, then you'll have a potentially amazing conversation with one other person there.
Agreed.
Or you have kind of an awkward conversation with one other person there and you leave and you pat yourself on the back and you say, hell yeah, I got out there. Right.
I did it.
And I met a new person and I didn't die and I'm totally able to do this again and replicate it the next time. We don't want you to get so hyper-focused and hyper-fixated on finding the perfect event to get yourself out there. It's about getting your feet wet with connecting with other people.
Yes. And if I was to use a word to encapsulate what you just said, Michelle, I'm going to use the word curiosity. It's being curious requires bravery, a sense of adventure, doing new things. But beyond that, once you connect with someone, why are we so close? Because we were curious about one another and we asked each other questions and we learned more about each other. Oh, that's really cool. Interesting. You know, so we began to value each other more because we knew more about one another, more than just the surface stuff. That came with curiosity. And that curiosity leads to growth, connectedness, a deeper friendship, deeper understanding, deeper respect. I feel like I'm a better person because of our connection. And hopefully that's been reciprocated, hopefully. But, you know, it's one of those things where that connection and that curiosity has helped me to be a better person. And I would dare to say that connecting with people enables you to become a better person. And it expands your aperture. You see more, you see things in a deeper way, which is great. Just totally fine. So I put that out there for you and just want to think about that word. Connection requires curiosity, and not just curious about what can I get from this connection, but who is this person? So when we say curiosity, let's add another word to it. And I'm going to say the word sincerity. And if you have any ideas or anything that kind of you want to get some kind of interaction out of a connection, if you have sincerity, it's going to come across a little better. If you genuinely care about the person you're dealing with, that is going to show. It's going to exude from you. It's going to come out in your tonality, in your body language, in your energy exchange, as Michelle said. It's going to show that you really care. And people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Let's be real. And that comes from a space of sincerity, where people get to know you. And I'm not saying be naked and pour things out, you know, like pour out your heart on the first meeting, but you can still be sincere in the space that you're in.
Yeah, definitely don't be naked. Unless that's the group you were looking for. Well, but definitely don't be naked. Definitely don't be naked. Not on the first date. Okay. Yeah. So I'm sorry, but I'm not. Okay. We did talk a little bit about reference groups way back when, right? Oh, yes. Like this was early on episodes ago.
Yes.
And it's a little bit different than that. So it's similar, but it's different. What we're talking about is creating the reference group that you want. So, and with that, it's through networking. You have got to expand your connection, right? And it can be infinite when you start to connect with people who are not in your existing reference groups.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about business networking because one, that's how we met, but two, it's just something that we both enjoy doing is meeting new people. And I mean, I talked about meeting the ladies who work at the library. Clearly they're not a business networking circumstance, but when we talk about networking, you can network anywhere you're at. I network at the library with people. I mean, yeah, they asked me to volunteer, but like that's networking, right? Yeah. So anywhere you go, I have a coach friend who was flying down to Brazil and she was started talking to one of the counter agents. And the counter agent asked her what she did. Why are you going to Brazil? And so she started talking, well, I'm doing a speaking engagement in Brazil. And she's like, well, what do you do? I'm a life coach. I need a life coach. She got a potential lead just by talking to somebody. How are you? How are you doing? I see it's very stressful here. And so it's that sincerity of her engagement, the person became interested in, who are you? What are you about? Because she's so sincere in her interaction. She wasn't looking for a lead. She wasn't looking for a potential new client. She was just a sincere person in her conversation. So whether it's for business or whether it's for just meeting new people, what Cheddy said in terms of sincerity is so key. And being sincerely curious. You cannot fake it, because when you're sincere, you actually absorb the information that they share with you and the nuanced, body language that they exhibit and they show that you wouldn't necessarily pick up on if you had a specific angle that you were trying to get to.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head with that one. It's so true. But very much of communication is so much more than just the words we say. I mean, you hear me say this all the time. It's tonality, it's body language, all those other things that are nonverbal that really enhance that communication. So yes, if you're not sincere, a lot of times your body is saying one thing and your mouth is saying something else. And that looks very incongruent and very strange, very weird. And you just look very insincere. Let's just say that. You look very insincere, AKA shady. And people feel that. I mean, you smell like a person who's just there to do a transaction. People want more than just a transaction. They want a relationship. So we're going to be more relational. And when we say relationship, I'm not talking about baking cookies and going to the house every week. No, we're just talking about having a connection with someone on a deeper level than just the transaction you want to complete. Having more to do with that person. Learn more about the human being behind the client or the potential connection that you're dealing with. Learn about the human being on the human level, because when you whittle us down, we are humans. We like interaction. We have a story. We want to tell it. We want someone to understand and empathize with our story or understand our story or see the world the way that we see the world. And maybe we see the world the way they see the world, and we become more tolerant, accepting, understanding, and respectful of other people and other cultures, other lives, other ideas, whatever it is. It just expands your horizon so much more. It really does. And you can learn about other places in the world by hearing someone talk.
Absolutely. So we're talking about, we're kind of diving into the deep end, and we're talking about business, and we're talking about personal lives, and we're talking about all these things. And at the end of the day, when we talk about showing up with curiosity and sincerity about the individual that's standing opposite you, you may not have this networking conversation with the cashier that you're interacting with. But when you show up with genuine curiosity, genuine sincerity, and fully embodying yourself and being present with that other individual, you are creating good energy and a good connection between yourself and that individual, no matter where they're at and no matter what they've experienced that day. And so there's part of this that has a component to and Cheddy actually coined this, but contributing to the greater good. If you want to call it networking for the greater good, if you want to call it connecting for the greater good, we're just putting good vibes out in the world when we show up, being curious about the other individual, being sincere, being present with them. And that's what this is all about. That's literally what Cheddy and I are all about when it comes to this. We want to help people feel more connected to one another instead of disconnected around social topics, around, the media. We have more in common than we have not in common.
100%.
And so when we focus on what we have in common, when we focus on the humanity of each other, we are creating greater connection in our communities. And that's what we're all about. That's what we aspire to contribute to.
Yes. And why now? I mean, we could have done this work years ago, but we only met, relatively recently. But I would say things are so divided. If you look on the media, if you look on TV, it seems like it's either this way or that way. It's like there's A or B. And, there's more to life than that. There's more to life than that. There's more perspectives, and things aren't always black and white. Sometimes there's some grays. Grays require explanations. Grays require understandings and perspectives and backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. when you're dealing in the grays, you got to kind of be more accepting and more understanding and listen to other people's points of view more than just say, no, it's wrong. No, it's right. It doesn't work that way because it's not A or B. So if there's nothing else you get from today, it's try to work on valuing the connections with other individuals. Look for connections that you didn't have before, whether that's virtual or in person. And if you haven't been in person, try doing that. If you haven't done virtual, try doing that. The beauty in doing a new thing is that you expand, you grow. And so let's grow together. Let's go together. Let's grow together. So in addition to that, Michelle and I are coming up with some new courses that we think you're going to really like. And the first course we're going to do is called Networking Demystified. Ooh. I'm actually excited about this because Michelle and I have really benefited from the power of connecting and networking. And we want to share that. And we want to take the sting and the teeth out of networking. And this course is going to be for whoever needs to network. Whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, or you're someone who just wants to meet some new people, this course will be just for you. So be on the lookout for it. Stand by. And Michelle, what say ye?
Well, first and foremost, this course is free.
Oh,
so
yes.
We better see you there. There's nothing that's going to hold you back from it. There is a component that's going to be online learning, but there's also a component where it's going to be live, virtually live, but live nonetheless. And we are going to bring the element of fun. And that is something that's so key to this entire experience of connecting with other individuals. Even when sometimes, we have serious conversations, fun is so key to life, guys. So we want to take the sting out of it and inject a little bit of fun.
Sounds golden. I love that. Thank you, Michelle. As only the way you put it is just perfect. I mean, you just dropped these nuggets, but thank you for that. I'm excited to work with you. And hey, subscribe because it is going to be phenomenal and you're going to love it. So if you've enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe, follow, share, and most importantly, use whatever adds value to your amazing life.
Remember, even if life puts barriers in our way, we are still moving forward. Sign in each week for a new episode of Winning Inside.
Thank you for listening to Winning Inside with Cheddy Matthews and Michelle Wickman. If you enjoyed today's show, please make sure to click the follow button, rate and review at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, or wherever you get your podcast. You can connect with Cheddy and Michelle at winninginside.io. Keep listening. Another episode is coming soon.